Breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
And we are following overnight car break-ins. More than a dozen windows smashed in Durham. A look at the damage as police try to track down who's responsible.
And some early morning cold and more of that Arctic air that's in place, but it's not in place for long. We'll show you how many days we see 60s between now and Christmas.
And town manager steps down. Questions over mishandling of taxpayer money in Cary. The steps the town is taking to make sure this does not happen again. That other stories that have been developing overnight as you are tuning in to WRAL News this morning. Thank you so much for joining me here. I'm Chris Levingood. Let's go ahead and step into the WRAL Severe Weather Center with Chris Michaels taking a look at what temperatures are elsewhere.
Yeah, welcome to the half hour of Chris, by the way. Starting out with temperatures 27 in Rocky Mount, Durham, and in Raleigh. Everything is nice and lit up for the Christmas season, just 9 days away. Still, though, heading back to school this morning, the kids will need the thick jacket, the hats, and the gloves. It's not quite as cold as yesterday morning, but still a nip in the air for sure. Temperatures in the upper 40s as we head into the afternoon. Raleigh, Sanford 49, Benson 48, Fayetteville at about 50 degrees, South Hill and Lewisburg at 49 degrees. And then temperatures start to work their way up a little bit, starting with tomorrow afternoon in the mid 50s and a pair of 60s there for Thursday and for Friday. That comes ahead of our next weather maker. We'll time out when we see some rain, and we'll give you a very early look at how things are shaping up for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Quite the switch up. Thanks, Chris. All right, let's get back to that breaking news we're following. Police in Durham are investigating after a series of car break-ins early this morning. Let's go ahead and bring in Allie Kadlabar. She's live in the WRAL Breaking News Tracker. Allie, you have found more than a dozen cars broken into in several different neighborhoods. You stopped by each one.
Chris, within a 1 mile radius of where we're standing right now, this is NC 55 and Sedgwick Road, we saw at least 18 cars broken into. And we want to show you this video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker. It shows some of the vehicles we saw. You can see at least one window shattered in all of the vehicles. At least 12 were broken into at Brentley Ridge Apartments off NC 55. At least 5 in a townhome neighborhood on or around Purdue Drive, and at least 1 on Piperwood Court. But there could be more, and so we're working to find out how many cars were broken into in total. We have reached out to Durham Police Department to find out if they have arrested anybody in relation to these car break-ins, as well as if anybody's property was stolen. We're going to keep you updated throughout the morning. Reporting live in Durham, Allie Kadlabar, WRAL News.
And this morning, Raleigh police are looking for the driver of a truck that crashed into trees and caught fire. This happened on Wade Avenue near I-40 and Trenton Road. Investigators say the truck drove off the road and crashed into trees before catching fire. The driver of the truck was not with the vehicle when officers arrived around 12:30 this morning. Raleigh firefighters put out the fire, and WRAL News is working to find out if the driver has been found, if they are facing any charges, and if they are injured. In Cary, there is now an interim town manager in place. The former town manager agreed to step down after weeks of questions over spending of taxpayer money. Let's go ahead and bring in WRAL's Kelsey Coffey. She is live at Cary Town Hall. And Kelsey, the town is working to change its policies, and it could affect how it has more scrutiny.
Yes, Chris, this is just the tip of the iceberg here this morning. We're following new developments out of Cary Town Hall. The former town manager, Sean Stiegel, resigned over the weekend, and now the mayor says his decisions were disturbing and impacted millions of taxpayer dollars. So here's what's new. The town hired a law firm to investigate Stiegel's actions. They're also rewriting policy to ensure no future town manager can avoid telling the full council about major financial moves. Plus, there's a chance the state auditor's office could investigate the town's finances. Stiegel was first placed on paid leave in November after a public records request revealed a series of major expenses much of town council, including the mayor, say they weren't aware of. That includes thousands of dollars spent on four-star hotels, $1.3 million lost to fraud, and more than $1 million series of land deals. So we reached out to Stiegel multiple times, including at his home, on his phone, and his personal email. So far, he has not responded. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Cary.
Today, Wade County students would have a harder time accessing social media apps under a change set for a first vote. Now, this story is talking about a proposed policy and changes specifically that would prohibit the use of social media, Wi-Fi, or hotspots without permission. The policy doesn't contain information on how that would be enforced. The district's network already largely blocks social media apps. The policy changes, I should say, would address how students access the internet.
Another part of this is restricting your access to a Wi-Fi and hotspot. So you would never be able to use your own personal Wi-Fi or hotspot if you were a student and going to school. And you would only be able to use the school system's Wi-Fi or hotspots if you were given permission by a teacher for an academic purpose.
Now, the school board must vote twice on the new policy to enact it. That would be at a later date unless the board suspends its rules tonight. Today, Wake County school leaders will discuss rebuilding a historic Raleigh school. However, many alumni say they're opposed to this. Ligon Middle School was Raleigh's only black high school, I should say, for nearly 20 years. It was later integrated into the Wake County school system. Well, the school is now 72 years old, and leaders say it needs repairs and updates. Today, the school system will present 3 options to the school board, and 2 of those options would mean completely rebuilding the school. Many Ligon Middle School alumni say they don't want the school to be rebuilt or moved to the back of the property. The options would cost between $100 million and $140 million. Rob Reiner's son, Nick, was arrested in connection with the death of his parents. The case against Nick Reiner will be turned over to the LA District Attorney's Office today. Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle, were found dead in their home on Sunday. Their daughter found them, and a source says Nick Reiner was seen fighting with his father at a holiday party the night before. It's up to the DA, though, to decide if charges will be filed. Investigators are trying to track down whoever was responsible for the deadly mass shooting near Brown University in Rhode Island. The FBI and Providence police released new images of a person of interest. You'll see that right here on your screen. Police say the photos were taken about 2 hours before the shooting near campus. 2 people were killed and 9 others were hurt on Saturday. During a press conference, President Trump talked about the delay in finding the shooting suspect.
This was a school problem. They had their own guards, they had their own police, they had their own everything. But you'd have to ask that question really to the school, not to the FBI. We came in after the fact, and the FBI will do a good job.
Authorities have not released the victims' names. However, WRAL learned a Durham Academy graduate was critically injured. The FBI is offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to an arrest. President Trump plans to actually visit Rocky Mount this Friday. The White House says he is speaking at the Rocky Mount Event Center at 6 p.m. Rocky Mount is in the 1st Congressional District, if you didn't know. It was recently redrawn, and Democrats have represented that district for a long time, including currently by Congressman Don Davis. North Carolina is also home to what is expected to be one of the most expensive Senate races in the nation next year. Governor Josh Stein says the DMV is making progress when it comes to customer service improvements. Nearly 80,000 people have been able to use the expanded online services since October. That's when the governor signed the mini budget into law. It loosened DMV rules, allowing more people to renew online. The DMV is working on improvements because an audit showed the agency is understaffed, overworked, and underfunded. Durham City Council is pausing redevelopment for the old police headquarters. The building has been vacant for years, and plans to redevelop the site were scrapped over the summer because it got too expensive. City staff will now work with Preservation NC to preserve the Milton Small building. They will wait for the market to improve before moving forward with redevelopment. All right, well, today the Salvation Army will be giving out thousands of gifts to families in need this holiday season. It's part of the organization's Angel Tree program, and the goal is to make sure 8,000 kids locally have gifts to open on Christmas morning. The distribution will start today and last through Thursday. It will be at the Angel Tree Warehouse on Buck Jones Road and Cary from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Oh, NC State's hopes for a national championship in men's soccer, well, it came to an end last night in Cary. The Wolfpack played the Washington Huskies last night in the final of the College Cup at Wake Met Soccer Park. Wolfpack fans bundled up in the cold to watch the team compete for its first national title. Washington scored in overtime, though, to secure a 3-2 win. Wolfpack fans said they are just proud of how their team played.
The culture that has been built here at NC State by Mark Hubbard, by the team, by all of us showing up in, like you said, 30-degree weather. It's just going to be a really great way to solidify that culture that we've built.
Fans say the energy in the stadium was electric. New this morning, the Powerball jackpot is now $1.25 billion after another drawing without a grand prize winner. The numbers in last night's drawing were 23, 35, 59, 63, and 68. The Powerball was 2, and the next drawing will be tomorrow night. You can watch it right here on WRAL just before our 11 p.m. newscast. Just ahead, fire at a popular business, flames engulfing the Fuquay Arena building. How the owners jumped into action and plan to move forward after the business was destroyed. And responding with hope, the latest on the investigation into that shooting that killed more than a dozen people in Australia, and how chaplains from North Carolina are hoping to help the community heal. Let's go and get you a live look outside at Fenton and Cary. Nice and quiet this morning. Cold as well. It's been one of the coldest Decembers on record. Meteorologist Chris Michaels shows us when the warmth could return.
From the WRAL Severe Weather Center, North Carolina's most experienced team of meteorologists.
4:43 and a live look outside of our studio here. Everything all lit up, nice and festive, and the weather kind of giving us that holiday season feel as well. Raleigh's at 27 currently, so is Henderson, Rocky Mountain, Wilson, Siler City, Goldsboro, you're at 25 degrees. Smithfield is at 21. Fayetteville down to 24, Rayford 22, Southern Pines at 26. So it's once again one of those mornings where a thick jacket, the hat and gloves will do you some good. And temperatures continue to fall for the next 2 to 3 hours. But the difference is today we see sunshine during the afternoon and high temperatures making it into the upper 40s. We'll show you when we see some widespread 60s on the map coming up in a few minutes.
All right, sounds good, Chris. Thank you. Australia's prime minister says ISIS inspired the weekend attack at Bondi Beach. Anthony Albanese says the father and son duo responsible for the killings were aligned with that terrorist group. 16 people were killed and a dozen of other people were injured. The shooting was the deadliest Australia experienced in almost 30 years. Police killed the father and the son is in the hospital at last check. Hundreds of mourners are leaving flowers and other items at a growing memorial honoring the victims. Chaplains from North Carolina are flying to Australia to offer their support. The Billy Graham Rapid Response Team is sending a team over to Sydney. This morning, teams are investigating what caused a fire that burned a Fuquay Arena restaurant. Video from the scene shows the flames burning through the morning hangar last night, and that's a breakfast restaurant owned by Aviator Brewing Company. Authorities say the fire started in a storage area behind the kitchen, and Sky 5 was above that fire. You can see the large response from Fuquay Arena and Holly Springs firefighters. Nicholas Doble, his father owns Aviator Brewing, says they noticed the smoke and sprang into action.
We ran out with fire extinguishers, tried to pinpoint where it was, open up the doors, and we're getting facefuls of smoke and fire. And I mean, by then it was just too intense that we couldn't do anything but just stand back and watch.
And at last check, no one was injured and no one was inside. The restaurant was closed when the fire started. The restaurant's owner says the building is probably a loss. Happening today, Wake County EMS will share more information about changes to its response plan, and that will include less frequent use of lights and sirens. Wake County EMS says people often don't know what to do when emergency vehicles are coming, and that increases the risk for crashes. So the agency plans to use lights and sirens less often. There are 2 community meetings happening today. One is at 10 a.m. at Bond Park Community Center in Cary, and the other will be at 2 p.m. at Garner, Maine EMS Station. President Donald Trump is suing the BBC for election interference and defamation, and this is connected to a documentary released ahead of the 2024 election. The complaint accuses the BBC of producing a false, deceptive, and malicious portrayal of President Trump. The documentary, titled Trump, A Second Chance, aired just 1 week before the 2024 election. The lawsuit seeks $5 billion in damages for each of its 2 counts. The BBC hasn't publicly, though, responded to that lawsuit. All right, I want to talk about this flash flood warning that was lifted for part of the Seattle area after a levee broke. That happened yesterday along the Green River. Teams repaired part of this area temporarily, but they're still monitoring it. The city of Tukwila says most of the city remains under a get set advisory for a possible evacuation. WRAL's annual Coats for the Children campaign is happening right now. Right now, through December 31st, we need your help to gather as many coats and hats and gloves as possible. To find Jiffy Lube drop-off locations or to make a monetary donation, you can scan that QR code right there on your screen. You can also go to WRAL.com/coats. All right, another cold morning as we are waking up this morning is a little, I guess, better, and I'm using that very carefully, better
Yeah.
compared to yesterday, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, especially yesterday, a lot of us were in the teens. It was our coldest morning in the Triangle in nearly 3 years. So, hey, the 20s aren't too bad. Holly Springs and Cary at 27, Garner's at 28, Fayetteville 24. Roxborough been dealing with some clouds, so you're right at about the freezing mark. As we head into the afternoon, we're sunny with improving temperatures, especially compared to the past couple of days. Benson at 48, Fayetteville at 50 degrees, Southern Pines, Raleigh, Durham, and Lewisburg, your high temperature at about 49. Your average high is about 55, so we're at least getting a little closer to that. Maybe checking out some Christmas light displays this evening. Perfect evening for that. Temperatures in the 30s, a nice cup of hot chocolate will do you some good. And then as we head to tomorrow morning, no, not quite as cold, but still that little bit of a December nip in the air as temperatures drop to about 26 to 29 degrees. Temperatures will continue to climb, though. Tomorrow we're in the 50s, could even touch the low 60s Thursday and Friday. After that warm-up, we see our highest rain chance Thursday night. Could see a few showers Thursday afternoon, but the most widespread stuff is Thursday night. And the cool down this time is not exactly going to be dramatic. In fact, as we look toward next week, our 6 to 10 day outlook from NOAA's Climate Prediction Center now takes us through Christmas Day. And you see the bulk of warmer than average weather is across the southern plains, but we see near to above average temperatures at least becoming likely. So it could be in the 50s and 60s by Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And that's about where we're going to be over the next several days. There you see that higher rain chance Thursday night. Temperatures may fall a little bit from morning to afternoon Friday, but not like they did this past Sunday. 50s for highs Saturday. Winter officially begins Sunday morning with high temperatures in the lower 60s. Chris?
All right, thank you, Chris. And just a reminder, folks, you can track the hour-by-hour forecast with the free WRAL weather app. Just make sure you turn on your push notifications. Your time is 4:49 this morning. Overcoming winter blues. The cold and gloomy season can bring up some pretty dark feelings. Advice from experts on how to lift your spirits when you're not feeling the holiday cheer. Plus, counting down to the Winter Olympics, the performers you'll see opening the show. I love it when we're able to give you a live look at different cameras showing some holiday decorations, including in Lewisburg. You can see right there the Christmas tree is looking very nice and bright and colorful as well. But you know, during the holidays, many people can find themselves feeling sad despite all the decorations. Psychologists say it's normal to struggle with loneliness around this time of year. They recommend spending time socializing with friends and family, keeping up with activities you enjoy, and getting good sleep. The winter blues can be temporary. Dr. Don Potter at the Cleveland Clinic says it's important to recognize if you need professional mental health support.
If you are feeling down, depressed, or hopeless more days than not, if you are feeling a loss of interest or pleasure in doing things more days than not.
And Potter says feeling this way could signal that you're struggling with anxiety or depression and need further support. Well, the countdown is on to the 2026 Winter Olympics. Mariah Carey is set to perform at the opening ceremony in Milan Cortina, Italy. Organizers say Carey embodies the emotional buildup to the games that reflects the ceremony's theme of harmony. International ballet star Roberto Bolle will headline that closing ceremony on February 22nd. Well, the Upside Down is almost over and out. Douglas Hyde has more on the end of Stranger Things and today's Hollywood Minute.
We failed. We never stood a chance.
This is not over. Not by a long shot.
Stranger Things isn't over, but the end is in sight. A brand new trailer is giving fans a sneak peek at Volume 2 of the 5th and final season. 3 new episodes will be unwrapped on Christmas Day, with the show's grand finale set for New Year's Eve. It's official. All I Want for Christmas Is You has now spent more weeks at #1 than any song ever has on the Billboard Hot 100. Mariah Carey's holiday hit is back on the chart again and has now held the top spot a record-smashing 20 weeks since its original release way back in 1994.
And one more smile, sir.
One way to celebrate the life of the late Rob Reiner is to enjoy the films he directed, some of which are currently streaming. His groundbreaking mockumentary, This Is Spinal Tap, is on HBO Max. The coming-of-age classic, Stand By Me, can be found on Netflix. And the timeless fairy tale, The Princess Bride, on Hulu.
Maybe you could come over and read it again to me tomorrow.
As you wish.
In Hollywood, I'm Douglas Hyde.
Ahead at 5 o'clock, we are looking into some overnight car break-ins. More than a dozen windows were smashed in Durham. A look at the damage as police work to track down who's responsible. And questions over mishandling taxpayer money in Cary after the town manager resigned. The steps the town is taking to make sure this does not happen again. And later, get ready for holiday baking. 5 on your side shares the top tested kitchen helpers making baking easier and faster too.